In a world where royal stories often blend into tradition and protocol, one voice just pierced through the silence, not with a political declaration or ceremonial speech, but with raw, unfiltered truth. His Majesty King Frederik X, the newly crowned monarch of Denmark, has just made a confession no one expected. In a rare and emotional interview, King Frederik spoke candidly about the deepest corners of his heart, about the woman who has stood by him for over 2 decades, about the queen who once was simply Mary from Australia and now is the crown that completes him. This is not just a love story. This is the royal confession that has reignited a nation's emotional connection to its monarchs and captured the imagination of millions worldwide. So buckle in, because what you're about to hear isn't just a king's romantic tribute. It's a declaration of devotion that's already being called the most emotional royal moment of the decade. The Danish press was stunned. In an unannounced pre-recorded segment shared during a royal documentary, King Frederik appeared solemn yet serene. Dressed in a navy blue suit, with the quiet backdrop of Amalienborg Palace behind him, the king looked straight into the camera and said, "In every way that matters, she is still the girl I fell in love with. And I still choose her every day." It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished royal PR. It was vulnerable, genuine, painfully honest, and it caught everyone off guard. Why now? Why speak so personally and publicly? Insiders suggest the king wanted to make this confession as a counter-narrative to recent months of media speculation about his marriage, especially following solo royal engagements and rumors of emotional distance. But instead of a formal statement, King Frederik chose something more powerful: his truth. Let's rewind to the year 2000. In a crowded bar in Sydney, Australia, an athletic Danish prince met a beautiful marketing executive named Mary Donaldson. They spoke, laughed, shared stories. He didn't reveal who he was until the end of the evening. She didn't treat him like a prince, and that's what captivated him. What followed was a transcontinental courtship. Love letters, secret visits, and months of quiet devotion, away from the cameras and formalities. Friends recall how Frederik would cancel engagements just to fly to Australia for a single weekend. He was obsessed, one royal aide admitted, but in the best, most romantic way. By 2003, it was official. Their engagement was announced, and Mary was to become Denmark's future queen. But what they didn't announce at the time was just how difficult it was behind the scenes. Mary's transition into royal life wasn't easy. She moved from Australia's relaxed culture into one of Europe's most tradition-bound monarchies. Suddenly, every move was watched, every word analyzed, and behind palace walls, she was expected to learn the language, master protocol, and find her voice in a world dominated by centuries of history. She cried a lot, says a former court staff member. Not because she was weak, but because she cared so deeply about doing it right. King Frederik, still then a crown prince, was torn between royal duty and personal empathy. In his recent confession, he recalled this chapter with tearful honesty. "There were moments she felt alone. And there were moments I didn't support her enough. That's one of my deepest regrets." The admission shocked many, but it also humanized them. Because suddenly, their perfect royal image gave way to something far more powerful: authenticity. Frederik and Mary welcomed their first child, Prince Christian, in 2005, followed by Princess Isabella, then twins Vincent and Josephine. To the public, they were the picture of royal perfection. But, behind the scenes, the pressures were mounting. Frederik, caught between a slowly modernizing monarchy and expectations of a future king, often buried himself in work and royal obligations. Mary, balancing motherhood and royal duty, faced personal challenges in adapting to a society that still saw her as an outsider. In his confession, Frederik said, "We didn't always communicate perfectly. But Mary taught me something. Love doesn't always need loud words, it needs quiet presence." This line, poetic and profound, has since gone viral across Denmark. By the late 2010s, the royal couple's public appearances became more formal. Observers noted a subtle change. Gone were the playful glances, the affectionate touches. Instead, their posture seemed more composed, almost cold. Tabloids speculated, was the royal romance fading? But neither Frederik nor Mary addressed the rumors. In his emotional interview, the king finally said, "We've had seasons of distance. We've had silent mornings, but we always found our way back." No denials. No media-crafted rebuttals. Just honesty. And that, more than anything, reignited public admiration. In the wake of Queen Margrethe II's abdication, Mary became Denmark's first Australian-born queen consort. And with that title came enormous responsibility. But in the king's confession, he made one thing clear: she's more than a consort. She's my compass. He credited Mary for modernizing the image of the royal family, for bringing empathy into institutions, and for reminding him of the values that matter most. He even shared a private moment, a letter Mary wrote him before his coronation. In it, he said, "She told me, you were born to lead, but you were born for love first." That line alone has since become a defining quote of Denmark's new royal chapter. In a digital age of curated perfection, this royal confession shattered the mold. King Frederik's words cut deeper because they were flawed, real, and filled with emotional courage. For Danes, it reminded them that even their king wrestles with regret, nostalgia, and the desire to love better. For Queen Mary, it was a global tribute, a public honor, to her strength, loyalty, and grace. And for the world, it was a reminder that love, even royal love, isn't a fairy tale. It's a decision, made daily, chosen deliberately, nurtured endlessly. Within hours of the segment airing, social media across Denmark erupted. King Frederik confession trended across platforms. Danish newspapers led with headlines like, "A King's Heart on His Sleeve," "Frederik Still Choosing Mary," "The Royal Love Story We Didn't Know We Needed." One woman commented on Instagram, "I cried. For the first time, a royal couple felt like us, flawed but deeply in love." Another user tweeted, "That's what a real man sounds like. A king in title and a king in love." Even critics of the monarchy were moved. The confession reignited national pride not through symbolism, but through vulnerability. Royal experts believe King Frederik's confession marks the beginning of a new chapter, one where emotions and tradition can coexist. Historian Lars Mikkelsen noted, "This wasn't a PR stunt. This was a redefining moment. The monarchy just got a human heartbeat." Queen Mary, though she hasn't spoken publicly about the segment, was seen visibly emotional during their next joint appearance. Hand in hand, a subtle, powerful message, she heard him. As the interview ended, King Frederik took a long pause. He smiled, not to the camera, but as if remembering something precious. Then he said, "There's no crown more precious to me than the one she wears over my heart." As Denmark leans into a new royal chapter, it does so under a monarchy led not just by legacy, but by love. King Frederik's confession is a reminder to us all that behind every crown is a choice to love, to forgive, to stay, and to cherish what we sometimes take for granted. Beyond the glamour and ceremonial appearances, nothing reflects the love between King Frederik and Queen Mary more than their children. Each of the 4 royal children, Prince Christian, Princess Isabella, Prince Vincent, and Princess Josephine, has grown up in the spotlight, yes, but also in a home rooted in love and unity. In his confession, Frederik made a striking statement: "Every time I see my children, I see the parts of Mary I fell in love with, multiplied." He admitted that parenting has been one of the couple's greatest challenges and rewards. "Mary and I often disagreed on how to raise them. We're different people, different cultures, but we always found middle ground. That was our promise." This honest insight shed light on the quiet teamwork behind palace doors. And it reinforced something essential: while titles shape duty, it is love that shapes legacy. As the royal spotlight often fell on Frederik, it was Mary who quietly battled public expectation, cultural judgment, and the shadow of Queen Margrethe's towering legacy. King Frederik confessed that watching Mary deal with the pressure broke his heart at times. "She never complained, but I could see it in her eyes, the exhaustion, the loneliness. She carried herself like a queen long before she wore the title." He spoke of a time when Mary almost considered stepping back from public duties after the birth of the twins. But it was Frederik who convinced her otherwise. "I told her, Denmark doesn't just need a queen. It needs you. And I still believe that today more than ever." One of the most tender moments in the king's confession came when he shared that he and Mary still write letters to each other, even now, decades into their marriage. "We write when we're overwhelmed, or grateful, or just want to say something the spoken word cannot hold." Frederik revealed he keeps a small wooden box in his private study, filled with these letters from Mary over the years. "They are my most valuable possessions," he said softly. The king even recited one line from a letter Mary wrote after Queen Margrethe's abdication. "The world may now call me queen, but I've always just wanted to be your Mary." It was a moment that brought even the interviewer to tears. Many royal experts have noted that the Danish monarchy's tone has changed dramatically in the last decade. Less stiff, more open, more human. And Frederik credits this evolution almost entirely to his wife. "Mary taught me that a crown doesn't mean distance. It means responsibility, to lead with empathy." She championed mental health initiatives, youth empowerment, anti-bullying programs, and domestic violence awareness, often behind the scenes, never seeking attention. Her quiet diligence inspired King Frederik to rethink the role of a modern monarch. "She helped me become the king I am today," he said. "And hopefully, the one Denmark needs." The king's confession didn't shy away from the media storm that followed recent reports of marital strain. In 2023, a photo of Frederik in Madrid with a Mexican-born socialite made international headlines. Though the palace issued no formal statement, it sparked months of speculation. Was the royal romance over? But now, for the first time, Frederik addressed it. There was no affair, but there was distance, emotional, spiritual, not because of absence, but because of exhaustion. He admitted they both considered therapy. "We sat down, we cried, we didn't talk like royals. We talked like Frederik and Mary." His honesty is being hailed as a masterclass in vulnerability and leadership. One of the most touching revelations was this: to mark their 20th anniversary, King Frederik and Queen Mary secretly renewed their vows, not in a grand ceremony, but privately, in a chapel near Aarhus. There were no cameras, no guests, just them, and their promises. "We promised each other, not forever," the king said, "but every day, for today. Because that's all we can truly promise." The choice of simplicity over spectacle spoke volumes, and won over even their harshest critics. Royal historian Eva Madsen recently noted, "When we look back at Queen Mary and King Frederik 50 years from now, we will remember the way they made us feel. Because they didn't rule through fear or distance, they ruled through touch." She wasn't speaking metaphorically. Whether at children's hospitals, refugee centers, or state banquets, the royal couple is known for their eye contact, their warmth, their human presence. "She reaches out to hands before she reaches for gloves," one reporter observed. And that, more than jewels or pageantry, is what makes this monarchy feel alive again. Midway through the interview, the camera caught something rare: King Frederik holding back tears. When asked if he had any regrets, his voice lowered. "I regret the days I let stress speak louder than love. I regret the moments I chose duty over dancing in the kitchen with her." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't staged. It was simply real. The kind of confession that transcends royalty, and becomes universal. At the end of the segment, King Frederik revealed he had written a letter, addressed to all 4 of his children. "One day, when I'm no longer here, I want them to know what love looks like. Not just public love, but quiet love. Flawed love, chosen love." He then read an excerpt aloud. "Your mother is the greatest thing that ever happened to me. If you love like her, with grace, strength, and fire, you will build a life that matters." This was not just a love letter to Queen Mary. It was a generational torch, passed forward. So what will we remember about King Frederik and Queen Mary? Their wedding, their coronation, or will we remember this: a king who looked at the woman beside him and said, "I still choose her, every day." This confession didn't just change how Denmark sees its monarchs. It changed how we all see love. Not as something perfect, but as something persistent, as something earned. Do you believe that vulnerability strengthens a monarch's power, or should kings and queens maintain mystery and distance? And how has King Frederik's story changed your own thoughts about love, forgiveness, and what it means to truly choose someone? If this powerful royal story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear that love is still alive, even in the most unexpected places. Comment below with your favorite moment. Like to support more royal content like this. Subscribe to join our growing royal storytelling community. Because here, we don't just follow the crown, we follow the heart beneath it.